Okay, we're here with Coach Troop. He coaches the GC women's volleyball team. So, how do you build your team cohesiveness?
We do some team bonding things early on in the season. A lot of our drills are partner based, so you're not doing individual drills. I mean, volleyball, it's really hard to do things on your own. You have to have a partner for a lot of the aspects of the game. So, we mix partners around and try and so they're not always with their little clique, if you will, of warm up partners.
Okay, and do you designate roles or responsibilities when you're doing team bonding, or how do you determine your roles?
Sometimes, I mean, natural leaders will step up, right? So we talk a lot about accountability within the program. As you know, you were a part of it for a couple of years. But sometimes leaders aren't always the best ones, or always the most outspoken ones. Natalie, who was a senior one year, she wasn't the most vocal person, but she did a lot of organizational things on the back end for the team. So I think just the kind of leadership steps up, and we notice it as coaches, and we kind of got away from calling out players as captains. We call them more as leaders because it's those that are making an impact in the program, whether it's on the court or off the court.
I like that. So, how do you believe that group collaboration work or exercises can benefit to the coaching environment or individual learning?
I think the more we can get the team working together, the more cohesive we're going to be to the point of your first question. Just getting them to work together and problem solve together. It's a team sport. It's not like basketball, for example. Someone can go out and score 80 points in a game and potentially you can win it. Volleyball's a team sport. You can't touch it 3 times in a row. You can only touch it once. So just getting them to work together in certain aspects, and I think it's more of the team dynamic that makes volleyball a little bit more special than some sports. Not all sports, obviously, but some.
Okay, so how do you define success as a coach?
I think that's a great question. I mean, wins and losses are always the determining factor for a lot of folks. But if I see my team or my players individually growing and the team growing, that's success for me. If we have goals at the beginning of the year, they're not unattainable goals, but they're goals that we can attain. They're not super easy, right? So success for us would be making the conference tournament on a yearly basis, and then of course competing for conference titles. But on the academic side, it's obviously a high team GPA. Our goal is a 3.3 or higher for the team. So getting that goal met, because then we get an award from the AVCA that says we're an all academic team. So that's successful, as well as getting young ladies through college in 4 years or less.
All right. How do you handle spectators, parents, or coaches from the opposing teams when there's conflicts?
That's a great question. I don't know how I'm going to answer it. No, I mean, that's a tough one. When we're at home and spectators get out of line, we have home event games management that'll take care of it, right? I'll talk to the officials. The main thing is protecting the other team, honestly. So we have some rowdy guys that show up and making sure that what they're saying is nothing negative towards the other team, which I know all the gentlemen in men's basketball does a great job of showing up and supporting. And they know to keep it clean. They know to keep it respectful, and they do a great job of that. But when conflicts do arise with other coaches, we have officials that are kind of between us. We're right next to each other. So, it's kind of being the cooler head in certain instances, right? And trying to tamper your emotions in the moment. Competition can get the best of us, as you know, you're a competitor. And it's just kind of trying to manage my own emotions and not getting too overwhelmed in that, and focusing more on the game and the players on the court and not the person on the other side yelling at me.
All right. Let's see. This one's a good one. So, how do you take care of your players' mental health or prevent burnouts amongst your athletes?
So last year we started working with UNCG's sports psychology department, and Michael did a great job in talking with the young ladies and putting them through exercises. This year it's Ben. Ben comes in to practice 2 to 3 times a week. Usually 1 day a week he'll do a session with them, like tonight's Wednesday, so he'll do a session with them tonight about just the mental side of the game, when it gets stressful, how to coping mechanisms, what you're feeling, the anxiety leading up to a match and stuff like that, how you're handling matches after a loss versus a win, right? So I think that aspect has been really beneficial to us. We haven't always had that in the past, but we also talk, Abby, who is our athletic trainer, I don't know if she's yours this year, But she's done a great job of doing daily logs that the young ladies have to fill out every morning. Talks about how much sleep did they get, how much have they eaten, where are they at mentally, how are they physically, soreness and stuff like that. So we can kind of get a handle on it before noon, to where if somebody's had 4 hours of sleep and mentally is drained, I might not be as hard on them at practice just because it might be a breaking point for them, right?
That's nice. I like that. So what are your beliefs in academic versus athletics?
I mean, academics always come first. As I mentioned, we have a 3.3 GPA or higher. Cumulatively as a team, we have a lot of young ladies that have 4.0s. We have a lot of young ladies 3.5s, 3.0s, and then 2.5s. So it's just managing that. We have mandatory study hall, where we changed it up a little bit this year to where if you have a 4.0, you can do it independently. A 3.5, you can do it independently. Actually, a 3.0 and above, you can do it independently. 3.0 or below, you have to come in, and there's several times throughout the week that they'll sit with myself or Coach Mallory and get their study hall hours in, as well as all of our first years have to do it, just to kind of get acclimated to college and their study habits needed to be successful.
That's pretty good. I like that too. So what is your coaching style?
Well, firsthand. You answered this question. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not the hardest coach on the young ladies. I don't yell and scream. I try and learn their personalities and what makes them tick and what's going to make them be the best player they can be. And I don't have to be the hardest coach they've ever had to do that, right? As I tell all recruits and everybody I talk to about the game when I'm bringing them in, potentially to be a Pride member, is you fell in love with the game because it's fun. We're going to have fun, but we're going to have intense practices and work hard because we have goals in mind that we want to achieve.
All right, so obviously you're going to receive respect from your players. So how do you show respect back to your players?
Our program itself is very family oriented, if you will. So everybody has a voice, right? So we come together in huddles and I ask them, anybody got anything, right? And some young ladies speak up, some don't. It usually takes one or two to get two others to speak up. But, their voice is just as important. I'm seeing it from my side, but they might be seeing it differently because they're on the court in the heat of the moment, if you will. So just giving them the respect to feedback and help figure out what we need to do as a program, if you will, what we need to work on in their eyes, what they feel like is not working versus, it could be totally different than what I'm seeing, right? And then we'll collaborate and try and figure out how to get that worked into our practice to where we're working on what they think we need to work on, but also what I feel like we are lacking in, right?
All right, so lastly, what does hard work look like to you?
In the gym first, out of the gym last, right? That's what every coach says. No, I'm leaving it all on the floor, right? We started a thing this year where we kind of talked about in our preseason meeting that, practice like it's your last, play like it's your last, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow, honestly. It's not to be like morbid or anything like that. It's just, play hard every day, right? Give everything you have because the person next to you is going to give everything you have, right? You were a part of the program last year. We talked about Ubuntu, talking about I am because we are. We took it a little bit further and said that, if I'm working my tail off and I'm not on the court, I want it to be you because that means you're out working, right? So kind of having that mentality of if it's not me, then it's going to be you on the court kind of a thing. And I think the young ladies have really excelled under that. They're really cheering each other on and they're not, bitter about not playing time. They're happy for their teammates.
Good.
So.
That's good.